Chih-Wei Chang. I hope I pronounce your name well. We are happy to have you here as as a participant from the first Ruhr network of city makers, and now in our online videos. So, would you first of all introduce yourself a little bit to the people that haven't met you yet?
So thank you for having me. My name is Chih-Wei Chang. Many people call me GV. It's my nickname. I was born in Taiwan, but mostly educated in United States. I worked as a landscape architect in San Francisco for about 15 years before I moved to Germany. Now I work and live between Köln and Hamburg. Um, Recently, I have been involved in several of the projects, including my own, about how to kind of activate the ecological services in a land development. And so that is kind of my recent focus.
Hmm. Yeah, wonderful. So, you are a traveler between the cultures and the professions. In Corona times, this leads me to the second question. In Corona times, from your personal and your professional perspective, what has changed most in the urban environment?
So, as you might already thought, being have family and work in three different continents. Previously, my biggest guilt is my carbon footprint of flying. My work mostly involved international consultancy that require meeting, and even I have to visit family and friends and visit clients in different continents. And I enjoy the globalized lifestyle and work career, but at the same time, I worry the most is the carbon footprint that I created through a frequent flight. So, of course, the biggest impact for Corona crisis for me is all of a sudden I have to be limit myself to communicate through my bedroom. And so that certainly it is. I think it is good from both sides because finally I have excuses to really reduce all the communication to the most essential part. Means that um, you prepare well about the meeting agenda, and then you present your work. Everything has in a very control and a very how do you say in organized manner. And I think that is certainly it was very proven, very effective in the past couple months, as long as every participant very aware about what information to give to take. Uh, a little bit different is, it's still a little bit hard to replace this to face-to-face
Mm.
interaction professionally because if you're in design and planning, there's a spark that you are looking forward to during the creation process, and it's just a little bit difficult. Then you have to do that with multiple people on the other side of the screen, and then it used to take a little bit more practice and warm up and also have to give the opportunity to everyone to get to that level. So this is more of the professional level, how it changed in positive and
Mhm.
negative side. But for urban side, I myself also start to certainly explore very radically how my neighborhood has to offer. I live in one of the neighborhood in Cologne, and previously I never had time to visit the farmers market in the Thursday noon. I basically virtually has no time, not at home during that time. But this is a great opportunity for me to really just walk out the door, buy grocery, and know what's fresh on the market, and talk to my neighbor actually. So this is something from my perspective is something very new, and I commit to continue working on that to shop local, to buy local and buy only the seasonal product. So I think that is something I see it very interesting in terms of experiencing the urban life. Many of the restaurant around the neighborhood, they reduce the seats indoor and increase the seats outdoor. And that is, as a landscape architect, I also see it as an opportunity. How do you spread out a certain kind of the seeds to increase their distance, physical distance, but not compromising a urban atmosphere and social interaction, even if you don't know each other, having the experience of all like sit together, dine together, and talk and listen to each other. Certainly, I think it is very healthy interaction that we need, especially after the lockdown. So that leads to a lot of thinking about how and in what way the city could design to be better. Um, from my side, maybe I can start from a more natural science approach. Many people has noticed that during the lockdown, when people use less of the open space on the street, there's less traffic, less people walking on the plaza on the street. Um, Plants growth, the birds coming back, or at least you hear them more often. And in some city, they also witness a better water quality, air quality, for example. And so these are all the good signs to um, encourage people to have a deeper observation of the natural life that is around us, even without us. There is a book, I forget about author, but the title is The World Without Us. It is a very interesting writing talking about what if the human disappears suddenly in the world, how would the city gradually um, evolve and decay, but in some way it's taken over by nature. This is a good read for me to probably revisit. Um, but on the other hand, it's how do we design a city that allowed natural process to function even with us, because we always design from a very human perspective. How am I going to use this place? I need a shade, that's why there's a tree. I need something to look at, that's why there's some flowers. What if you also let nature to take part of it? Give the opportunity to the part of this urban land that nature to success, to express the nature beauty of even wildflowers, native flowers, or just some of the rainwater that not directly go into the drain, but it could irrigate different plants in the city, for example. I think this is a good timing and an interesting time. And I'm looking forward to more scientific paper that being observed and written during this period of how nature evidently showcase their beauty and their behavior during this time. Um, the other side, I feel like I just go back to what I was talking about, how the social interface of the urban street life. My personal favorite place during the lockdown is my balcony. Of course, if you, I am lucky enough to have a balcony. Otherwise, I mean, seriously, this is something where you can walk out, you can have fresh air, you can also see your neighbor, what they're doing. And in Cologne, we have this 9 p.m. clapping for a medical worker, but also for a togetherness. And that is such a ritual to follow. And even within social distancing, being able to visually connect to your neighbor to hear how they talk. I mean, not the conversation, but at least to know people around you still like carry on their life and then show support is such an important part. And then, so that lead me to the thinking of how could we reconsider balcony, not just a real estate perk, but a necessity. Maybe it is a visual connection. Maybe there's a certain social focus. And there's also study showing that a better visual connection will improve the crime and also the social behavior in the neighborhood too. So extending from the balcony, you also have, for example, your porch, your share area with the same building. You also have sidewalk that's in between the public and private interfaces. You have street treat, and you have, of course, the traffic road, for example. How do we really think the uses of these spaces in an even more flexible way?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it could be used by a cafe, basically take out all the chair to occupy all the street pavement and become a cafe. And sometimes you stop the traffic and for kids to play. And then you have maybe a farmer's market or sometimes kind of a neighborhood meeting. I think the future of the urban interface should be way more flexible and sociable. And maybe the first step is certainly to try to challenge its definition by a short-term temporary experiment. For example, in San Francisco, where I live, for a very long time, they have this parking day. Parking means you remove a parking spot and turn that into a park or a usable space. So that use ing to describe not just for parking, but is the part in the making. So that is that was proven very successful. And then I think we can certainly think about that more during, especially it shows it's evident during lockdown. Flexibility of use in the streetscape is certainly possible and has a lot of potential. I don't know. And that's kind of a lot of thinking probably kind of merge all together.
What I hear is that you want to see more creativity to enhance the neighborhood and to reshape the public space, not just for parking, but more for park in the making. So like San Francisco, and more of these creative ideas. And yeah, we hope all that in the future, urban planners, professionals, and officials will have more of these creative ideas, as you mentioned.
Sure, sure, sure. I really happy to have this opportunity to share what I thought. If there's anything what I want to add is also a social equality, because I also want to emphasize, again, I was lucky enough to have a balcony and I have the neighborhood has the capacity of expanding the flexibility experiment. Some of the disadvantaged neighborhood might not have these capacity that build up. They certainly have the potential. So in some way, I also want to extend the same idea, but is to various different type and the given setting. But it, on the other hand, it will become probably a how do you say, a campaign that how to use the open space to serve different type of community, because I think open space is also indeed the best way to reinvest the public and to provide resources to disadvantaged, and also to share the equal how to say environment and social support that a family and a neighborhood need.
Yes, exactly. Yes, we have to provide better urban space for, especially for the ones that are disadvantaged in the city. So for the ones who are not so lucky to have a garden or a balcony,
Yeah.
and not so much space. So that we have, even especially for these groups, we need to create better and healthier and more qualitatively higher qualitative open space.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, but still a lot to work on.
Yes, exactly. So fingers crossed that all our ideas will be heard somewhere. And hopefully next time we will meet in person again in at the City Makers Ruhr Network, or in the City Makers um, meeting in September in Berlin. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, and looking forward to see all of you in person again soon.
Great. Thanks.